I'm Tim Hrenchir with the Topeka Capital Journal and CJ Online, and we've scheduled this podcast to answer people's questions about the comprehensive plan that Shawnee County Commissioners approved last October. We have been having some hotspot difficulties here in the basement at the Kansas State House at this site, so it's possible technical problems will pop up during this cast. Please stay with us if that happens. And by the way, at the end of the broadcast, this will all be posted at cjonline.com. Anyhow, the comprehensive plan guides decision making about the physical development of Shawnee County's unincorporated areas. It seeks to bring about orderly growth that balances environmental values and reasonable development demand over the next 20 years. Shawnee County Commissioner Kevin Cook has graciously agreed to appear on this podcast to talk about it. Kevin, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Tim, for inviting me. You know, it's quite a maze to get down to this office in the basement of the State House. I'm surprised that we have any cell signal at all.
Me too. So let's start out with the basic. What is the comprehensive plan and what does it do?
Sure. A comprehensive plan it's laid out in the foreword in the actual document, and it's defined as a single document representing a coherent vision for Shawnee County's future. Looking forward, we know that Shawnee County will continue to change, and change will present both opportunities and challenges. The comprehensive plan tries to foresee and account for those changes, knowing that the Shawnee County will face situations that could not be predicted when the plan was originally written.
Okay. Is the plan a fairly complex document?
That's a kind of a double-edged sword to answer. The plan is 183 pages long, but it's not difficult to read. So it is a complex document. It is complex in the amount of pages that there are to read, but it is not difficult in how it's laid out. And the sections are set forth very straightforward.
Is the plan available on the county's website?
Absolutely. So the comprehensive plan is available on the county's website under the Planning Department tab. It can be downloaded, and you would look for the final version.
Okay. The plan was approved by county commissioners in October. Is it in effect now?
It became effective with the passage of the Home Rule Resolution, and so it actually did take effect in October of 2018.
Okay. The plan was debated and discussed for more than 2 years before being approved by the commission in a 2-to-1 vote. Could you please tell us about some of the things that happened during that 2-year period?
Sure. So this is going to take us a little bit to walk through, being a 2-year process. The planning process was conducted by the Shawnee County Planning Department and RDG Planning and Design in collaboration with CSF engineers. In June of 2016, the county commissioners identified economic development, land use, natural resources, transportation, infrastructure, and intergovernmental coordination as key priorities for the plan. A 22-member comprehensive plan steering committee representing a broad spectrum of community interests was convened to offer primary guidance to the plan. Committee members met monthly to assist in identifying emerging issues, refining vision statements, objectives, prioritizing the community's goal. As the plan developed, they also reviewed it through the developmental process. A community questionnaire was made available to all interested residents and stakeholders. The questionnaire focused on relative importance of various community services and facilities. Over 320 responses were received. Those responses helped frame the important issues and goals as seen through the eyes of the community and were used to set the agenda for focus group meetings and the visioning process undertaken by the steering committee. Targeted stakeholders group meetings were held over a 2-day period in September of 2016. In total, 62 residents, business, property owners, employers, public officials participated in roundtable discussions on several issues. These discussions provided a forum for community members and representatives to expand and refine the information from the questionnaire and to have in-depth discussion of broader opinions of the community and its future. Meetings were also held with the cities of Auburn, Silver Lake, Rossville, Willard, and the Citizen Band of the Potawatomi tribe in October and November of 2016. 2 public open houses were held in October of 2016 and November of 2016 at the Seaman and Washburn Rural High School, and the general community was invited to share their ideas. There were also two public design workshops held in February of 2017 at the Washburn Rural High School and Northern Hills Elementary School. Using projections of residential, commercial, industrial growth through 2040 and accounting for residents' goals and objectives, the team shared future scenarios, and there were members of the public that attended to help fine-tune those ideas and bring share their own ideas, and it provided an opportunity for the public to think critically about how Shawnee County may look in the future and their voices for the plan. A future land use map was especially shaped by these workshops in addition to area concepts. Now, to actively involve the public in the process of developing the plan, the team produced a series of 10 big ideas summaries to cover the plan's major topics in partnership with the Topeka Capital Journal. Each introduced a topic, explained relevant considerations, plan goals, and recommendations. And then the final public open house was held on June the 15th of 2017 at the Big Gage Shelter House in Gage Park. And this provided a public forum for attendees to come and voice their comments and questions and concerns with the plan's goals and recommendations. A project website was created, routinely updated with new information on projects that has evolved, and this served as a resource through which interested citizens could stay involved and engaged with the project. Documents, including the big idea summaries, were also posted to the website in addition to the completed plan. The planning and county commissioners were especially involved in the comprehensive plan. Members of the planning commission attended the final steering committee meetings in 2017 to voice their ideas about the plan's goals and recommendations. A full planning commission performed a complete analysis, review, and edit of the comprehensive plan chapters at the end of 2017 and through the first half of 2018, including several public hearings. After the original comprehensive plan was rejected by the Board of County Commissioners, and the Board of County Commissioners stayed active as well, and the plan was adopted, including many public hearings, revisions, modifications, with the final being adopted on October the 15th of 2018. It's quite a mouthful to get through the whole process of 2 years.
Yeah, it is. One thing that was noted at the time of adoption was a lot of compromise was involved in getting to the final product. Could you tell us a little bit about some of the compromise that was involved?
Tim, I think that's probably the key component that went into the comprehensive plan. And I might back up just a moment. When we talked about what is a comprehensive plan, Shawnee County had the distinction, or had previously, one of the last counties in Kansas to not adopt a comprehensive plan. It was also the last major urban county to not have a comprehensive plan. So this was relatively new territory that the Shawnee County was treading on in the development of a comprehensive plan. This is our first comprehensive plan in the history of Shawnee County. So what you had is you had a lot of compromise between individuals that really wanted to set forth iron concrete ideas as far as growth and development, and you had landowners that were very concerned about, is this going to affect my property value? Is this going to affect what I may have as a future use of my property? And really trying to strike the balance between identifying those future growth areas and also recognizing landowner rights. That's really what we see reflective in the final draft of the comprehensive plan as adopted.
Could you talk a little bit about some of the compromises that were made regarding size of land tracts?
Sure. So one of the things that we looked at was there was in the original comprehensive plan, it discussed that you could not add secondary houses to your homestead. I know that there were a number of individuals that were concerned if they had multiple children and the children all wanted to build their own houses on the homestead, would they be limited, prohibited from doing that? That was taken away, so they would be able to do that. The other part was the actual size of the tract of land, and it was a very large, so you could not subdivide it down into smaller tracts, and we took away that so that it would be consistent with what our current rules in effect are.
So now that this plan has been approved, what changes?
You know, I think that the Shawnee County residents will probably see very little impact on a day-to-day basis with the adoption of the comprehensive plan. The greater impact will come as we develop more business, industry zones, and the impact of the comprehensive plan will come as landowners seek to change the use of their properties, and the planning department examines whether the new use is compatible with the expectations outlined in the comprehensive plan. The other thing that you would want to see is we're not trying to take away people's property rights through the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan acts as a guide to help look forward and help the county anticipate future growth and allocate resources to the future needs of the county.
Are there any things that you want to stress to folks will not change?
Really stressing again, we are not taking away your property rights. This is really to add for more predictability, more growth in the future of Shawnee County. Looking at where do we need to start looking at designing roads, utilities, what is going to be our future growth areas for Shawnee County. That's really the key components of the comprehensive plan.
Okay. Supporters said it was important for the county to enact a comprehensive land use plan because owners of land in the 3-mile jurisdiction just outside Topeka city limits in unincorporated Shawnee County had no representation when the city's governing body makes moves to regulate planning and zoning in that area. The county's approval of a comprehensive plan was expected to give those landowners representation by giving the county a say in those matters. So are there any steps the county needs to take now for the people in that 3-mile area to have a say?
I think that in order to understand the question, we need to take a step back and take a look at how we got to this point. Years ago, there was a joint Shawnee County City of Topeka Planning Department.
Mm-hmm.
Both entities were working together to develop the future growth of Shawnee County and the City of Topeka. Before my term as a commissioner, Tim, you might remember, I'm sure you were there and covered all the meetings, as you've been around the community for a length of time. There became a dispute between the city and the county, and ultimately the county withdrew from the planning department. That created its own planning department, separate and distinct from the City of Topeka. By operation of law, the 3-mile radius around the City of Topeka, also known as the Extraterritorial Jurisdiction, ETJ, was developed. So what it did was it allowed the City of Topeka, because there was no longer a joint city-county planning department, to be able to exercise influence and decisions when it came to planning decisions in that 3-mile radius. So who represents those individuals? They don't reside in the City of Topeka.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a representative on City Council that would be voicing their support or opinion because they don't reside in the city. The planning decisions ultimately take effect in front of the City of Topeka governing body, so as a county commissioner, they don't have any representation. And I think that this really came to a head when you saw the Topeka develop their long-range plan, and the long-range plan directly impacted that 3-mile radius, and it changed the square acreage for development, increasing your lot sizes, increasing your tracts of land, and a number of landowners were very upset that they really had no voice or representation in the final plan. Also, we saw that as we've seen industry grow, either through the Mars facility, Home Depot, the Bimbo Bakery, Target Distribution, but also in Reesers. In these areas around the City of Topeka where individuals may say, who's representing me? So I have been working with the county councilor regarding the adoption of a home rule resolution that would create a planning board that would be made up of both city and county representatives, and this would create a manner in which there would be actual representation of those residents that live in the 3-mile radius around the City of Topeka.
Would the decision still be made by the Topeka governing body?
If we have this body, we would be coming back to, and I hope that at some point we really are able to move together as a community to come back to a joint city-county planning department. I don't think that it really does us any good to have two separate bodies making decisions and going sometimes in very different directions. And so you have different goals, different objectives from the city and the county, and those are sometimes competing interests. And we really need to find a way to find common ground to work together.
Okay. Do any specific changes to county laws need to be made in order to enact the comprehensive plan?
Not directly. With the adoption of the home rule resolution, the comprehensive plan was adopted, but the Planning Commission will use the comprehensive plan as a guide in the decision-making process of the future development or land use in Shawnee County. So there's not any future changes to county laws that need to be made.
Okay. Is the plan supposed to be reviewed every year? And if so, what is the process for that?
So KSA, Kansas Statutes Annotated 19-2958, Section E through H, the Shawnee County Planning Commission shall annually review the comprehensive plan to determine if any portion of the plan has become obsolete. It shall make a report to the Board of County Commissioners regarding the same on or before June 1 of each year. So this June 2019 will be the first year that we have a report from the Planning Commission. And if there are any changes the Planning Commission would make or recommendations to the County Commissioners, alternative, on an annual basis, the County Commissioners may consider making changes to the comprehensive plan. When such an amendment or extension or addition has been proposed, whether as part of the annual review or by resolution of the Board of County Commissioners, there must first be submitted to the Planning Commission for public hearing, and that's pursuant to Kansas Statutes Annotated 19-2958 C through H. And that recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners approving or disapproving the action. The Board of County Commissioners shall consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission, and regardless of such recommendation, may adopt in whole or in part by resolution or take no further action or as it deems appropriate set forth by the statutes. So June of 2019 will be our first year for an annual review.
So this is a document that can be changed as it becomes necessary.
Absolutely. So, and again, going back to the very first question you asked me, what is the comprehensive plan? The comprehensive plan is to set forth the future growth, the future ideals and expectations of Shawnee County. Let's say that you're a resident and you live in southwest Shawnee County, and we suddenly decide or find that that would be an area that would be a great use for an industrial zone. I don't know that at this point. I think that, that may not, it's not next to our highways or train tracks, but let's say that we do find a great use for an industrial plan and that we want to develop an economic zone for industry there. That might be something we carve out. By the same token, maybe in the northeast section of Shawnee County, we decide that it's an environmental impact zone and there's some critical part of our environment that we want to protect, or an item such as the Flint Hills. That would be an ideal use that you want to preserve it, not for future growth or development. So those would be things that we look at in the future.
Okay. One reader suggests that because county commissioners made numerous revisions to the document that was put forth by the planning department, that suggests that those two entities were at odds with each other. Do you think they were at odds with each other?
I don't think that it's being odds with each other, but I think then again you have to look at the planning director was trying to, again, adopt those recommendations that would be for a very first document. It's hard to develop something for the very first time when you have nothing to work off as to what you've done in the past. I think it'll be far easier moving forward in which you look at what works and what doesn't, and adopting the plan to reflect the current needs of Shawnee County. So the statement that the county commission and the planning director were at odds with each other might be a bit of an overstatement, but I would say that there were items that the former planning director, Barry Beagle, and the Shawnee County commissioners did not sync up with. And these items really centered around the direction of the planning department and the extent and reach of the planning department in development of new zoning regulations and possibly having a code court. The county commissioners expressed concern regarding the impact and the costs of these new endeavors. I think that's really where you could say that we were maybe out of sync with each other.
Okay. The new comprehensive plan clearly affects people who are outside the city limits. For the folks who live in Topeka, is it going to have anything? Does it have any effect on them?
Again, I don't think that you would see a direct impact as a resident of the city of Topeka. It's not going to affect your property use or how you live in your house or your home. But where it could have an impact is as we plan future roadways, infrastructure, if you look at how you get to work, what routes you take, also where you work. As we develop possible new industrial or business centers, this will have an impact you as you work and where your job may be located.
Okay. Here's my last question, and then after that we'll go to any that people may have submitted. Okay. Is there anything else you want people to know about this plan?
One of the most critical tools available to counties in implementing the comprehensive plan is the development and use of a multi-year capital improvement program, or CIP. Typically, a CIP is a schedule of projects the county will initiate within a 5 to 6 year period. Commissioner Rippon, who was recently elected and sworn into office, had set forth during his campaign that this was a high priority for him as a county commissioner. With the adoption of the comprehensive plan, we are now in a position to move forward with that capital improvement plan. And I think that's one of the things I really want to stress as where we move forward as a capital improvement program. The first county's annual capital budget. Projects would typically be divided into several phases, including preliminary engineering, right-of-way or easement acquisition, utility relocation, project construction. Small projects may be completed in 1 year. Large projects may take more than 1 year to complete, in which case individual project phases can be listed on the CIP. This would really help set forth what direction we're moving as a county, helping with budgeting, so that we're really setting forth in a more orderly manner our future projects for the county. So the development of that CIP will be an important thing to follow.
Thanks. Kevin, thanks for appearing with us on this podcast.
Glad to be here, Tim.
Hope this was...
We do have one question if you'd like it. Yeah.
Okay, we do have one question from CJ Online.
Is it unusual for cities and counties to have separate planning departments? And you kind of answered that earlier when they split up.
Yeah. You know, we see that there are some times where you would have separate planning and departments within the city and the county. I think that it's unusual for a county of this size to have separate planning and county departments, and I think that really what we need to look at is is this the most efficient use of our resources, and would there be a better way to plan for our future growth? And I think that having a joint planning department, the real struggle, Tim, and just to be very blunt, is the planning department cannot be completely city-centered. That really doesn't listen to the voices and the concerns of the people living in the county. That was really one of the main reasons that the county pulled out before, was this feeling that the county was not being listened to. At the same time, the county can't be centered and be county-centered. So you really have to strike a balance between those two interests, those two groups, the living in the city and the county. And having a joint city-county planning department may be an ideal that we just can't reach. But at the same time, I think there's a lot to be said about putting aside differences, setting aside your egos to really work for what's the best for your community.